And what's your sense of the landscape for early stage groups, and what kind of advice do you give?
Yeah, I mean, there's two levels to that. There's Equine Green, because we're a fundraising organization. We're not endowed. We raise every dollar every year. And then there's our fellows. So to Equine Green, I think we're doing what Elizabeth spoke about so eloquently. We're thinking about, well, is there any fat? Well, there really isn't. But, you know, it makes sense to be very prudent in a time like now. And just be very, very focused on kind of core activities. So that's what we're doing, just to be disciplined, even more so. And also, I think it comes down to how we talk about what we do, too. I think that it makes sense to shift our language a little bit. Talk about efficiency. Talk about how our fellows do so very much with so very little. In downturns of economy, folks focus in kind of the angel investing or just the capital marketplace for for-profits. It's actually a really good time to fund startups and because you can get it on sale, right? And you can get a bigger bang for your buck. So is there a way that can kind of translate, that thinking can translate in the kind of the social entrepreneurship space as well? So there's different things about thinking about how you articulate your value that is coming into play for us as an institution as well. And we are, another thing that I've heard and we have done is you go back to your core. If you don't have a core, that's really tough. So I'll get to our fellows in a second. But the people who've kind of backed you in hard times, this is a time to go back and see what's happening with them and see if they can kind of be even more philanthropic. And in fact, my mom runs a nonprofit organization, and it's really interesting because there's kind of a moratorium, like people are saying not new stuff, but they're actually backing things that they've really nurtured to a larger degree because there's a responsibility. Fundraising, philanthropy is not just a favor. It is you've created a partnership now, albeit there's all sorts of power issues implicit in the partnership, but there is a responsibility that comes with funding. It's not like, oh, here you go, go off and do your thing. There is a mutual responsibility. So some people are upping their responsibility to the institutions that they help bring along. Our fellows, it depends. A lot of our fellows are doing work internationally. I think it's a little bit of a different situation, but still very scary. Most of our I have not heard any horror stories. I have not heard any. I think people are just more than anything just worried. I haven't heard of anything closing. I haven't heard of any fellow losing a grant, getting a huge rejection that they were expecting. I think it's just fear. And again, it just makes sense to be smart about it. So we are having a conference in a few weeks with 80 of our fellows, and we are going to focus quite a bit on on that fear and on the strategy.